Welcome back to another vlog. This is Lego Movie 2. Just got back from seeing it. It's sort of midnight, so not 100% coherent. So I brought help.
Hi.
If you haven't seen Jen and Susan watch DuckTales, this is Susan.
What up, y'all?
She saw it with me, and she's pretty awesome. So, I mean, everything is, but...
Everything really is, yes.
But Susan is particularly so.
That's not in the song.
Outtake?
Oh, clearly so.
Clearly. So, figured she could join me. This is a commissioned vlog, but as I mentioned, it's midnight and I no longer remember who commissioned it. I think it was Nick Borovic. I hope it was Nick Borovic. Thank you, Nick, or person that I am erroneously calling Nick. So, where do you want to start?
I believe you said you would start with a spoiler warning?
Oh, yeah. I normally don't bother with these, but since the movie is, still in theaters, I figured just a heads up. We're not going to do, a plot breakdown or anything like that, but we're also not going to not spoil things. You know, we're going to say whatever occurs to us to say. So, there probably will be spoilers of some sort in here. Consider yourself warned. Not that it's that plot-heavy of a movie, you know?
Fair point.
There's really only the one twist, and it was pretty telegraphed.
I feel like there were two. In, it's funny how not spoiling things, in fairness, I'm a Good Place fan, is so, ingrained into me that, what I believe the twist that you're talking about, Emmett and Rex being
the same person.
The same person time traveling, which, have we had enough time travel movies recently?
Okay, there's that. What else had time travel in it?
Okay, I guess it's more... Time travel feels like a multiverse thing, and it feels like...
They do tend to be related, so okay, yeah.
Everybody's in everybody's in a multiverse kind of thing, and
I guess technically there was time travel in the Marvel movie, because Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Doctor Strange has seen 14 million potential futures, and I feel like I have too. Because, it seems like there's multiverse or time travel elements in every movie.
It's almost like we don't want to be in the timeline we're in right now.
Perish the thought. But anyway, yeah, that the big bad is time-traveling Emmett is one twist. The other twist is that while the first movie ends with the planet of Sistar and the implication that the kid who is making the story happen's little sister's going to get involved, for I would say the first third to half of the movie, it is heavily implied that the little sister is a destructive force, and I wasn't quite sure where that was going, as far as I didn't want everything female to be bad.
Yeah, and there was definitely, between the mom as an apocalyptic threat and the Sistar thing, it did feel a little bit like that, though again, during the brief period you were out of the room, there was a scene that gave me some hope that they weren't going that way.
I had no hope.
The complaint about the first movie was that they've kind of become Chris Pratt's specialty, of the bog standard, unremarkable white dude who is paired with a kick-ass awesome lady who does all the actual work, and unremarkable white dude is the chosen one because he is. And they called that out in this movie. Oh my god, stop it.
Someone is texting you who's not me?
Yeah, I know.
What the hell?
That never happens. Hi, Vega. You are texting me right now, and I'm ignoring
Hi, Vega.
you.
What's up? She's
Um.
ignoring you. I'm just being nice.
Anyway,
She knows the Vega. Isn't that awesome?
heck? Anyway, but yeah, there was a scene where they called that out, and it feels like they listened to those criticisms of the first movie and made an actual effort to do better this time around that I think was successful.
I think so too. One thing that it's interesting with Frozen 2 coming around, that I really loved that Frozen was so explicitly a sibling movie. And this also is very much a sibling movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because for so long, the central relationship was a love story. And I mean, kids can relate to that in theory, but the older sibling who has shit to do, oldest child, and versus the younger child who just wants to play, I mean, just about every non-only child kid is living that on some level.
Yeah.
And there's some of that in this movie as well.
Oh, there absolutely is. The other thing I really liked about that, as long as we're on the general feminism track, is the degree to which toxic masculinity was the villain of this movie. Which, more, and what I love is, yeah, it's personified in Rex, but at the same time, they're also, making fun of that angsty teen, grim, dark McDarkerson that, like, Lego Batman has always been a parody of. But, like, having that take over because the boy is getting into that age, and having maturation being getting past that, I really liked.
Mad Max has needed, like, some parody for a long time.
Yeah.
Literally decades. And
Yeah.
yet here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Lego.
And there's been there's been other stuff that does that, but it's still relatively uncommon. There's still kind of this notion of gritty, dark McDarkerson is more mature than, like, joy. And it's really not.
It isn't.
It gets hard, happiness gets harder as you get older, I think. I don't know. Childhood was pretty miserable.
That wasn't just us, but I mean, there are plenty of people who romanticize childhood.
Yeah. Which this movie didn't really do either. Because the sister was really destructive early on because she was a little kid playing with Legos that were a little, she was a little young for. And so she did smash a lot of stuff early on.
I feel like there's something in how the Duplos and Legos don't fit together.
Yeah.
And the Duplos fundamentally didn't fit into the universe, and that's how they sort of created the apocalypse.
That's a really good point.
I don't know if I'm being excessively clever here. I'm certainly talking as fast as I'm thinking on it, but I thought that was a neat sort of thing they played with. There's so much in the toy as a reflection of reality and toy as a reflection of genre that these movies do. They're way more sophisticated than they have any right to be.
They are. That's kids' movies. I won't say in general, because you still get crap like that amusement park movie that has been previewed before every movie I've seen for what feels like the last 1,000 years. That just looks like this loud, dumb kids' movie. Like, those still happen. But you also get, like, smart entertainment for kids. Which that's always existed, but there's definitely more people making it.
And I feel like it's getting more interesting. I mean, the first Shrek was great in some ways, but there was also like a smirkiness to the whole thing. That, I mean, okay, Jeffrey Katzenberg has daddy issues about Michael Eisner. That's not really, something kids care about, but it's not even really something most adults care about.
Not really.
Although I care, or I wouldn't have made that joke, apparently I read Disney Wars last year because Lindsay Ellis told me to.
You said it was really good.
It was really good. She's right. She's right, y'all. I mean, like, the critic who knows more about most things than me is also, in fact, correct about that.
The other thing I liked, is that, speaking of, like, dumb, loud kids movies, the other thing I liked is that they toned down the product placement a lot relative to the first one. The first one was kind of this constant barrage, much as Lego has become since we were kids, this constant barrage of licensed stuff.
Yeah.
And this one was, were there any licensed characters that weren't in the first one? Aquaman. They had the new Aquaman as, instead of the old one.
Do we think they had to license, like, the Hot Tub Time Machine guys and the Back to the Future stuff? I mean, that was on the screen so briefly, and it was parody.
Oh yeah, Doctor Who, I think, is new to Lego movies. So that one was a direct reference. I'd have to double check, but I think, with the exception of Doctor Who, those might all have been Warner Brothers things.
Oh, right, of course. Because I had wondered about Voldemort in the Lego Batman, because I'm like, how much do you have to pay to put Voldemort in your movie? And he doesn't actually do very much that, like, any villain couldn't do. Hi, Vega.
Stop it.
But, yeah, of course, if it's Warner Brothers and they're like, yeah, we're using Voldemort,
Yeah. It's... Although, on the other hand, there is also... there's this guy... There's this animator, James Baxter, who people are talking about lately because he did a fantastic 40 seconds of the Steven Universe finale. But he is amazingly good. You know the really famous shot in Beauty and the Beast during the ballroom scene when it's like panning around the... He animated that.
Oh, okay.
He works like traditional animation. I mean, he does use computers now, but he trained in traditional animation with like pen and paper. He is one of the best in the business. You can just, once you know about him, you can always spot his stuff because the movements are much more fluid. Characters' faces are incredibly expressive. Like, he's really, really good. And he is someone you bring in. He's fantastically expensive. And he's someone you bring in to do, like, 1 minute of vitally important character animation that needs to be, like, pitch perfect. And, well, my computer just shut down for no reason, so that solves the Vega problem. Unfortunately, it also means I can no longer use it for lighting.
Vega, you're never a problem.
No, we love you, Vega.
I love name-checking your famous friends.
She's, I mean, she's not that. I mean, she's better known than I am. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. So anyway, in Adventure Time, there's this joke, like, as a joke. They brought James Baxter on. They had him animate a horse that, like, rides around on top of a beach ball and says its own, and they had him voice the horse, which does nothing but say James Baxter in a horse voice. Because they had money to burn, I guess. But my point is, like, I can see some things that have that kind of sense of humor, which the Lego movies definitely do. I could see them spending huge amounts of money to get Voldemort for one gag.
Okay, alright, sorry.
I was going somewhere with that.
Did I lose faith? No, I did not.
You were close, though.
Well, I've been waiting to say something about Ruth Bader Ginsburg
Oh, okay.
for, honestly, since we saw the movie. I am okay. I mean, I love Ruth Bader Ginsburg. One time at the Shakespeare Theater, I got between her and the wine bar, which you should never, ever, ever, ever do. You're
I have
laughing
not
like
heard
that's
this
a
story.
joke. But no, it was. But anyway, I'm like, is there going to be like a Ruth Bader Ginsburg Lego keychain? Because, I mean, I know some lawyers who would buy it. Also, I feel like Elena Kagan doesn't get enough love, but at the same time, the Ruth Bader Ginsburg personality cult is a little out of control.
It's a little out of control, and I think part of it is just that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is a fun name to say.
That's a point, and I mean, she's got that, like, badass old lady thing.
Yeah.
And, I mean, she's kind of like... I mean, there's the real Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and then there's the sort of Minerva McGonagall in Ruth Bader Ginsburg form that is the fictional, you know?
That's a good way to put it.
But yeah, I mean, Elena Kagan actually does just as much cool stuff and actually asks better questions. Hi, this is my new law vlog. Anyway, you wanted to talk about, like, kids' cartoons or something?
Yeah,
That's
probably.
why we're here?
But, you know, it's not off-brand to wander into talking about the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Like, I don't know that that's something I've specifically done, but we're still on brand here.
Okay, good.
What else do we want to talk about? I remember we talked about a few things in the car, I just don't remember what they were.
We talked a little bit about the show through a feminist gaze.
Yeah. Major improvement there.
Yeah, definitely major improvement, and it was also interesting. It's interesting and I feel like this is a little bit of a fan wank, but the first movie was from the perspective of what, like an 8 or 9-year-old boy?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, everything is all about boys, and girls are kind of gross and horrifying when you're 8 or 9. And now he is more ambivalent on the subject, but he still loves his sister.
Yeah.
And you made a good point in the car about the sister's age.
Oh yeah, so the sister is about the same age the little boy was in the first one. So her play is very similar to his in the first one. It's sort of goofy and, you know, silly and fun, and this blend of the very mundane, everyday, and the fantastical in the way that the city in the first one was very much in that vein. Whereas, again, like in the opening scenes, she's a toddler and she's destructive, but she has basically become, she has a different aesthetic, but she's basically the same level of development as the boy was in the first movie, while he has moved into the, angsty preteen boy adolescent phase, which you had the good point that the movie did a really good job of vilifying. Or not partially vilifying it in adults, but also, making the point of, like, that's not really what maturity looks like.
No, it's not.
It's that's toxic masculinity is what that is.
He literally smashed his sister's Lego wedding cake.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of a dick move, but she also shouldn't have touched his fucking stuff.
Yeah.
So again, oldest child versus woman, I have a lot of divided loyalties on this movie.
Except the first movie established that those are all their dad's Legos.
And their dad doesn't give a shit about Legos anymore, which I'm not sure how to feel about that.
Yeah. I'm not either. But then again, he didn't really in the first movie either. He wanted to nail it down as, like, the perfected thing he had built.
And if he can't have it his way, fuck it, he's gonna go play some golf.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
Yeah.
And I mean, we touched on this briefly in the car as well, that the first movie had the everything is awesome. And this movie takes a much more nuanced look at everything is awesome.
Yeah, the musical number, Everything's Not Awesome, I thought was fantastic. They're just, this more nuanced, like, yeah, life isn't perfect, but it can be made better. You know? It's not everything is awesome when you're part of a team, but working together can make things suck less.
Okay, did you look up what year the original Lego movie
No,
was
I
made?
meant to do that.
I'm gonna, you say something insightful.
Okay.
I'll be back in a sec.
So one thing I mentioned in the car that I wanted to make sure to bring up here is contrasting the villains of the two movies and how they tie into the themes. Because in the first movie, of course, Lord Business wants to keep everything the same forever, which is, of course, what the dad is wanting to do. And he is... Emmett kind of wants that too. Emmett is stuck. Emmett is in this state of stasis, and he's fine with conformity, and really the plot is about him embracing being special, being different, being himself, and accepting change as a part of that. So that's, breaking out of routine, having some creativity in his life. That's the first movie. In the second movie, the problem is, at first glance, the problem is that the boy is growing up and growing into that adolescent bullshit phase, where, Apocalypseburg, it seems like a cool idea. And so the villain is change. It's this amorphous, shape-shifting being. Except that's not really what the problem is. And that's what we see, again, because Emmett is kind of the representation of the boy. So in the first one, he needed a bit of a kick to grow up a little. And in the second one, the problem is growing up in the wrong direction. The problem is embracing that toxic masculinity. And so the real villain is the adult he is on a path to grow into. And he chooses otherwise and reconnects with his sister, and Emmett chooses not to grow up into Rex. So I thought that was, they do a good job with these movies of tying the villains into that thematics.
Can I do a completely whack-ball thematic theory?
Sure.
Okay. So the first Lego movie was in 2014, and the villain, in that sense, we had the dad, and the dad had this perfect society, and he wanted to build toward the perfect society, and then at the great expense of personal freedom. Those criticisms sound familiar. And now in 2019, we have a Lego movie where the dad is completely incompetent at all aspects of fathering and just wants to say fuck it and go, can I say fuck it on your...
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And go play golf whenever parenting gets hard. I'm not saying that, like Jeffrey Katzenberg, the Lego movies in America have daddy issues, but I'm not saying that. I mean, I promised you a wacky fan theory.
Yeah, no, I get where you're going with that, and it ties into the reason I had brought up trying to remember when the movie came out. Because everything is awesome, let's be a team and everything will be great is a very 2014 attitude. Dear God, everything is... there's a line, though, in the Everything's Not Awesome song in this one that struck me as very 2019. And I don't remember the exact line, but it was along the lines of everything sucks, but if we work together, we might be able to get back to sort of okay.
The whole dynamic there brings to mind the internet pictures of the white ladies with signs that say if Hillary had won, we'd be at brunch right now. And yeah, if Hillary had won, everything would be awesome for them, but it wouldn't be awesome for everybody, much in the way that Everything is Awesome was fundamentally a lie in the first movie.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. And it is really true. Like, those signs, like, they think they're not making the point they think they're making.
Right.
You know? Because we both know this. Most of you know this. The problem is not Trump. The problem is a system that allows someone like Trump to exist.
The problem's kind of Trump.
I mean, he is a huge problem.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But we'll just keep having more of him unless we solve the fact that we live in a system that allows people like him to exist.
Are you going to get mail that whenever Susan is on the podcast or the vlog, I apologize, it all becomes political? Because last time I was on a vlog, all I would talk about is duck sex. So,
I doubt that, given how political I normally am.
Okay, good.
Like I said, we're still pretty on brand.
Okay.
Because I'm talking about children's cartoons. Obviously, I'm going to be talking about politics.
And honestly, there's some political metaphors to be drawn with duck sex. Have you mentioned that if this girl gets a little bit more money on her Patreon?
$1.
$1. She and I are going to talk about another DuckTales episode.
That we are.
Yeah.
So, just letting you all know that.
Will I have let the duck sex thing go by then?
Not.
Yeah, that's not good. And also the whole, Scrooge McDuck and Duckworth, there's some stuff going on there. I would like to search for more textual evidence.
Well, that'll be a challenge given that Duckworth wasn't in the premiere.
Damn it, I'm always getting my animation confused. This is why you're the professional.
Yeah. Or, well, as we were informed by the showrunner on Twitter, Duckworth was in the premiere. No one noticed him.
That's mysterious.
In fact, he was in some of the first clips of the show ever shown, but no one noticed him. And I don't think anyone got it right. It was eventually answered, but I don't think anybody got it right before it was revealed.
I watch these things sight unseen, so I have no idea. I just vividly remember Duckworth, giving Scrooge McDuck a bath in the early ones, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, there was definitely a form of intimacy there. What form of intimacy it was, but yeah, in the original DuckTales, oh, yeah.
There's some, BDSM-y shit with Jeeves and Wooster going on in the first place, and if some of that goes over, can I say BDSM-y shit in
Yes.
your... Okay.
You can say basically anything in this vlog, and it will not be an issue, because pretty much the only thing I don't allow on here are slurs, and you don't really use those.
Yeah, all the horrifying things that are coming to mind. None of them include ethnic slurs, though if you give me time, I can probably think of one. But okay, I'm not typically given, this level of freedom of speech, so I could say, of all the shitty police departments in America, and there are many, Little Rock does seem to be the worst, per the recent appeals court decision.
You can say that.
Okay.
It's kind of, non sequitur, but yes.
Okay. Well, you let me talk about courts earlier, so.
This is true. It's not off brand.
Okay.
I've ranted about police more than once in here.
I'm really concerned about the emotional lives of some people after the Mueller report comes out, because as far as I can tell, a whole lot of people are like, every day they get their fix. And I'm like, guys, this isn't going to go forever, and, it might not end up the way you want to, and maybe we should all, start forming support groups now, except I'm not one of those people, so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an excellent point. Now, if you could somehow tie it back to this Lego Movie 2, that would be A+.
Okay, well, I mean, going into, we spend a lot of time leading up to the Momageddon. Again, here we are with the spoilers. And then the Momageddon actually lasts 5 minutes and everything's hopeless. And then Mom clearly, we went into Dad's parenting. Mom's parenting is a little squirrely too. Because she's like, yeah, I've given you guys 5 million warnings. Now you have to put your Legos away. And there's this big drama scene of them putting their Legos away. And then it sure seems like they're out playing with the Legos again 5 minutes later. And the mom's like, are they killing each other? No, fine, whatever. All right, they're playing with each other and it's kind of sweet. And the oldest child is not saying, just because you want to play wedding doesn't mean I have to dance, which is a perfectly reasonable thing for an oldest child to say. Team oldest child. But, so again, we're given this big emotional buildup. And then, it's sweet, and I'm sure the results of the Mueller report will be sweet. But Mueller. Is it Mueller or Mueller?
I think it's Mueller.
I'm a very bad vlogger.
I only read news. I refuse to consume it in audio or video form. So I have no idea how his name is pronounced. From the way it's spelled, I assume Mueller.
Meanwhile, I need to know how to spell Gaddafi so I can get it on my tramp stamp. And, that joke is stolen from Megan Amram. Thank you, Megan. But yeah. Really, all my good stuff comes from Megan Amram's Twitter feed.
Most of the Good Places stuff comes from there, too. She writes for them. She's good. Do we have anything else we wanted to talk about?
The status of Ruth Bader Ginsburg as a licensed property or a stand-in for one is still fascinating to me, but I don't think we're going to come up with any new insights on it tonight. I'm going through, because we did hit the sort of post-apocalyptic thing and how that's all kind of silly, and we all think we're going to be the heroes in the post-apocalyptic world, but
We're not.
Without psych meds, both of us are useless.
Pretty much. Without a wide variety of meds, I'm pretty useless.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's not the point of the apocalypse. The point of post-apocalyptic stuff is that you get to live out your fantasy of killing your boss.
But isn't it also that the haver of any given post-apocalyptic fantasy is kicking ass in this post-apocalyptic world? Because if that specific, somehow I'm thinking white male person is not constrained by society, they become so much more awesome.
That's what they think. And actually, I really like, now that you're bringing that up, because in the first movie, Emmett was the Chris Pratt character. He was the generic white dude who, by the power of generic white dudery, becomes a hero. And in this movie, like you were just saying, the expected thing in the post-apocalyptic wasteland is that guy rises to the occasion and saves, that's the fantasy. And Emmett is useless in the post-apocalyptic world.
He brought her coffee.
Okay.
Caffeine.
But that's fair.
And frankly, she wasn't doing anything. She was sitting on her, cliff top and brooding. I mean, there are a lot of useless things to do in the post-apocalyptic universe. I maintain getting your significant other coffee is actually less useless than brooding.
That's fair, but also he, let the star thing into the base, which resulted in General Mayhem getting into the base.
Okay, fair point.
And she had very clearly developed a lot of defensive tactics and tools and things working with Unikey. So she'd done genuine work. He built a house that had a room of toasters.
And the toasters came in handy.
They did eventually.
Yeah, there's some kind of joke in between Rex and Emmett about Rex having lost his baby pet and gotten chiseled, which feels like another.
Oh, it's 100% a Chris Pratt reference.
Okay.
Because that in the first few seasons of Parks and Recreation, he's slightly on the chubby side. He's a slightly schlubby dude, and then in between, I think it's seasons 5 and 6, but it might be 4 and 5, he filmed Guardians of the Galaxy, which they justified in show by having him move to England for a while. And the next time he shows up in the show, he's super fit. And so yeah, that's kind of the Chris Pratt arc.
There are a lot of walking tours in England, so if you're looking to get buff, that's actually a terrible way to do it. I'm no help.
That was great. Thank you. But no, that was very much a Chris Pratt reference.
Okay.
That was referencing to the fact that he went from schlubby Andy Dwyer to jacked Star-Lord in a year.
Okay, that makes
Relatively
sense.
jacked. He doesn't quite have the body type for Terry Crews level jacked, but
Sorry, I had a moment.
he's pretty he got in shape quite dramatically, and yeah, that's definitely what they were referencing. And that's the thing, is Rex is the end point of the character arc that typifies that kind of movie, which again is pretty much what Chris Pratt does now, is that role. So it was really nice seeing them use it that way.
It's interesting, the actors who do the same role over and over, and you kind of don't mind. Queen Latifah comes to mind. I mean, Queen Latifah is pretty much Queen Latifah in every movie, and you're just so fucking happy to see Queen Latifah. You're like, hey! So it doesn't matter that, Meryl Streep isn't her jam, because you just want to see Queen Latifah because she's a joy. And not so for Chris Pratt, but I mean, I'm trying to think of a time when I have seen Maya Rudolph when she wasn't just being Maya Rudolph. I mean, even when she's in a commercial, complaining about laundry detergent, she's still basically playing Maya Rudolph.
I mean, the mom in this movie and the judge in The Good Place are basically the same character. Slightly put upon, kind of distracted.
The same mannerisms.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's Maya Rudolph, so you're like, hey, it's Maya Rudolph.
Yeah.
I mean, you're totally happy to see her.
God, there's a lot. We were remarking during the ending credits, which the ending credits song was amazing.
It was indeed.
There's this. They're singing about how great ending credits are. It was brilliant. But when they got to the cast list, we commented on, there's a lot of people from Fremulon shows in this movie. Chris Pratt, of course, Maya Rudolph, Nick Offerman, There's somebody. Oh,
Stephanie
Beatriz.
Beatriz. How can we forget Stephanie Beatriz? I mean,
Stephanie Beatriz.
I didn't think I could be into it. No, I am not into it. Never mind. Can we edit that part out?
Nope.
Damn.
I mean, we could, but we're not gonna.
Oh, I wonder if if Mayhem, after she takes off her scary Rosa Diaz voice, robot Rosa Diaz, which I didn't realize was a thing that I could go, but robot, I mean, I don't, never mind. But after she is no longer robot Rosa Diaz, first of all, she comes off as way too young to be hot. But I kind of feel like that's Stephanie Beatriz's natural voice.
It is.
Because it is definitely the voice Rosa Diaz uses when she's making fun of people who are not like Rosa Diaz. If you're not a Brooklyn Nine-Nine fan, what the hell are you doing watching Us? But I mean,
No, if you've ever seen Stephanie Beatriz like doing an interview or something, yeah, that is her natural voice.
It's certainly how her natural voice comes off on Twitter. Which makes no sense, like, unless you've ever seen her hi kind of Twitter, and then, you're like, but...
Yeah, no, she is spectacularly unlike Rosa Diaz.
She has never once told me to go fuck myself on Twitter, so yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
I can say go fuck yourself.
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
You can say things, don't worry about it. There is nothing you are remotely likely to say that I would have a problem with you saying on this channel. I say all kinds of shit.
I don't care, actually, if pineapple goes on pizza, because all those carbs are poison anyway.
I mean, that's a terrible opinion, but it's fine on this channel.
Many terrible things are correct.
That's not one of them. Pineapple on pizza is disgusting because pineapple is disgusting. Like, it's not the pineapple pizza combination that I have a problem with. It's pineapple at all. In anything. Ever.
You can get the spices on pizza, and you can put them on cheese, and maybe put some pepperoni. Bed of vegetables. It's like 1 billion times better for you, and it tastes a lot the same because pizza crust doesn't have a lot of flavor.
That still doesn't change that pineapple is an abomination.
Unto the Lord?
Yes.
Okay, because it's abomination unto the Lord is like a 10 times funnier phrase than abomination by itself.
This is true. Back to Everything is Awesome. That was actually the one thing that surprised me. I fully expected General Mayhem to turn out to be, I'm blanking on her name. Female lead.
That General Mayhem would be a time-traveling Lucy?
Yes. Lucy, that was it. Yes. I completely expected that.
I didn't see that coming at all, so good on ya.
It wasn't true. So
yeah. But admittedly, that General Mayhem's big speech is about how Lucy was underappreciated would seem to be a big hint in that direction.
Right?
Right.
But nope.
But I love it when a movie can fake me out, so I'm cool with that.
Yeah, no, I like it too. Yeah, I twigged on pretty much instantly that Rex was Emmett for the future because there's this moment early on where you get the jumble of voices of the humans talking. I think it might have been in Emmett's dream. But the boy says something like, I'm working on a new storyline, it involves time travel. So, yeah. I was between that and recognizing that Rex was Chris Pratt's voice.
I more got that from the fact that the functional difference between any Lego characters are the hair and the outfit. And his hair and his outfit were different versions of Emmett's hair and outfit. So it is cool that we got to the same place two distinct ways.
Yeah.
There was something else on that, but I'm blanking on it. Maybe I'll think of it later. But yeah, it was a good movie. Oh, and it was very striking visually, as we kind of come to expect from these. The Lego movies go back and forth as far as how Lego they are.
This one was not super Lego, I felt.
But there were moments.
There were moments.
I especially liked, and I'm not generally one for like destruction porn, but when the buildings were falling apart.
Yes, the shattering of the
panes of glass all popping out Lego style. I love that.
That was really good.
It was interesting that it's clear the sister plays with Lego and other materials. There was a lot of fabric in the Sistar system.
Yeah, a lot of fabric, a lot of cardboard, or not cardboard, construction paper, a lot of drawing. Yeah, it was definitely It was a much more mixed medium once they entered the Sistar system. It was pure Lego like the first movie until he passed through the stairgate, which is such a gloriously terrible pun. But once they got up past there, it was much more mixed medium, which I guess is what I meant by being less Lego.
And it was also one visual style, then it was a slightly different visual style, and then they happened to throw, Dorothy and the Tin Man and the Lion, and then the Tin Man came back for some reason, and the Scarecrow was in there too. Which kind of seemed like a talk about licensed properties coming out of nowhere, but okay, whatever.
It was a little bit, yeah.
And it wasn't a direct, I mean, a lot of movies take and then everything was color, very literally. This, I felt like putting the Wizard of Oz characters in a movie where it shifted between visual styles so much. That was either too clever by half or extremely clever. Not sure which, but it was basically a hi, we know what we're doing, but not like a cheesy one.
Yeah. I didn't pick up on that element of it, so I lean on the side of it being clever enough, not too clever.
Okay.
I mostly saw them as the, Strange New World kind of a thing. That Emmett got thrown out of his world into this weird other one. But that is a very good point about the change in art styles.
One cool thing about, and again, this is some serious nerdery, about the New World is one of the first places we see is this conformist neighborhood where all the classic DC heroes and bad guys are friends, and the heavy assumption is that they are mind controlled, and I certainly went along with this assumption, but it turns out that if people aren't dicks to each other and they bring each other coffee and they mow their lawn. By the way, Superman does fly while mowing his lawn, but does not do so at super speed. I'm not quite sure what to do with that. But anyway, I thought that was actually very clever in the toxic masculinity is the bad guy.
Yeah.
That even these very masculine bad guys, very masculine heroes and bad guys are happier. It brought me back kind of to how they say that people snark on someone who's a basic bitch, but can I say basic bitch?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. I'm trying to come up with another horrifying opinion to deliver because this is very funny in my head. But I mean, again, the only opinions I'm coming up with are legitimately horrifying, and this is on some level a family podcast. Pregnant women are kind of smug. There we go. Anyway.
Kind of true.
Anyway, So it was interesting that I know some people who would qualify as basic bitches, and basic bitches live extremely comfortable and happy lives. I mean, they really like drinks that legitimately taste good, and they really like comfortable, warm shoes in the winter. And no, they're not as cool as people who call them names, but they have much to be happy about. And I felt like there was a little bit of that in we are kind of retired superheroes all hanging in suburbia, but we're all friends, and hey, it's Margarita Wednesday. They didn't actually say that, but I'm assuming it's the sort of town where Margarita Wednesday's a thing. I mean, I don't know that I would fit in there, but it's a pretty comfortable life. So maybe after, like, running around town in their capes and people dying all the time and everything being their responsibility, they're like, yeah, let's all hang out and have some guac that Lord Zod made. That would be great.
Yep. And I really like that sequence. I would love to watch just that scene over again and try to pick out which bits are the boy's perspective and which bits are the girl's perspective. Because one of the things going on in this movie is that everything happening in the girl's room, everything, in the Sistar system, is the girl playing. But it's the boy playing with Rex and Emmett. And we see that because he walks in and he's got the fist ship. So that conformist place, like it's so conformist and creepy and so on, is a very angsty preteen boy take on, people living their lives happily. It reminds me of that XKCD of the subway car full of people, and they're all thinking, I am the only individual in a world of sheeple.
I feel like there's like a German word for that, but
Probably.
I could be wrong.
There's an English word for it that's pointed out in the alt text for that XKCD. The alt text for that one being, what are the odds an entire subway car full of libertarians?
But
It's kind of true though. I hung out with a lot of libertarians in high school.
She's allowed to say that on her podcast.
I am allowed to say that on my podcast because it's my podcast.
Also, it's not a podcast. I keep calling it one.
Yeah, it's a vlog.
No.
There's not that much difference anymore because half of the podcasts out there are like video anyway. Like you can watch the people recording the podcast on like YouTube or whatever. Like the Good Place podcast.
You can watch that on YouTube?
Yeah.
Weird.
And it's just they set up a camera and film while they're recording the podcast.
Isn't it dangerous to watch while you're driving?
I don't drive.
Well, that's the only way I consume podcasts.
That's part of why I don't consume podcasts.
Well, you're also wrong about that.
I was going somewhere with this, and I've been completely derailed. I don't think I have much else.
I don't think I have much else either. I mean, various things are going to bubble up. Will there be a Ruth Bader Ginsburg Lego figurine keychain? And I don't even know how I feel about that. But yeah.
We could definitely go something down the commodification of the individual in celebrity culture.
Yeah, I mean, between the entire, vlog essay on what does Ruth Bader Ginsburg even mean culturally anymore, and the fact that we could have a rewatch bonus of some of the mind control scenes that aren't actually
That's what
control.
I was talking about that I got kind of distracted on.
Oh yeah, finish up.
Is I want to watch that scene because that's the boy's perspective. The girl, like from the girl's perspective, like I remember when I was 8 or 9 years old. No, a little younger than that, 5 or 6 years old. And I had these Transformers micro machines. And to me, it seemed completely unfair that they would be fighting a war and all the military vehicles are on the same side. And the other side is like big rigs and sports cars. Like, that's just not fair. So I would have them not be at war. You know, they would just kind of hang out when I was playing with them. And that's feels very much like what the little girl was actually doing with all the superhero figures and stuff. Is like let's which frankly, I feel like those are the most interesting parts of superhero comics. Is the parts where they're like living their lives and seeing like what's going on with them.
We love you, Kurt Busiek, Astro City. Great comic.
Yeah, I've never actually read it. I really should.
Okay, I love you, Kurt Busiek, Astro Steady, great comment. I stand corrected. Comic. Yeah, I kind of disagree with you on the warfare, because if there's like a tank coming, you know there's a tank coming. Have any idea how many like freight trucks there are? If any given freight truck could turn into a giant robot and kick your ass. You know, there's some real guerrilla warfare possibilities there, but if you didn't go there when you were 4, it's not like they could judge you there.
Yeah, which I don't think I did, yeah.
I'd seen a lot of MASH when I was 4 because my primary caregiver was my grandfather who did very little else. So, yeah. That's another bit of bonus content. We could tell depressing stories from our childhood.
We could. We're not gonna.
Well, we might gonna. Honestly, if you pay her more, you might see us talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We could do a bonus on the rewatch of that one scene. But also, if you pay her, we won't put out a video where we tell depressing stories of our childhood.
That sounds like a good deal.
All right.
All right.
I try to offer added content because, you know, you let me talk, so.
So yeah. I think that's about it.
Sure.
All right. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my Patreon for early access to vlogs, let's plays, essays, and more. And as she kept pointing out, we're a buck away from the 2 of us doing another DuckTales episode. And yeah, so again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
If you liked
Bye.
it, pay her. If you didn't like it, well, I mean, I guess if you all cancel, there won't be any more Susan videos, but you'd lose her. It's a dilemma.
People like the Susan videos, from what I've seen. Anyway, bye.
Bye!